أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one and only God. Peace and blessings be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, whom no other prophet will come after him. La ilaha illallah Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. There is no God to worship but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is his servant and a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have covered extensively on my 3 previous videos and concluded that the reason why the children of Israel said to a prophet of theirs, "Send to us a king," from Surah Al-Baqarah 2, verse 246, was because of their consistent pattern of disobedience, nor do they fulfill the covenant by which God's revelations were entrusted to them. When they are unfaithful to Him, He therefore delivers them into the hands of their enemies. And when they repent and pray to Allah for mercy, He sends them prophets as leaders, deliver the Israelites from oppressions, and they prosper. But soon after, they fall again into unfaithfulness, and the cycle is repeated. The time when the children of Israel were led and ruled by the judges, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested them with them being attacked by nations from outside the area they owned. Amongst the nations that came and attacked them were the Mesopotamians, the Philistines, the Canaanites, the Amalekites, Midianites, only the people of Midian, and these are to name a few. These were among the great nations of the time, and according to some scholars, the reason why the children of Israel were tested was because they became too infested with corruption, lost their values, and gave in to evil. They made so many violations towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and abandoning divine guidance. They do not speak out against sin, aggression, and devouring what is forbidden. In Surah Al-Maidah 5, verse 63, the table spread. Why do their rabbis and scholars not forbid them from saying what is sinful and consuming what is unlawful? Evil indeed is the inaction. And one of the most ghastly and sinful assertions that the children of Israel did, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us of the following statement that was made by the Jews. In Surah Al-Maidah 5, verse 64. The Jew says, Allah's hand is shackled. It is their own hands that are shackled, and curse them for what they say. Rather, both His hands are extended. He spends however He wills. They are too insensitive and too hard-hearted to use the straightforward description of the meaning they had in mind, namely, miserliness. False as that is, they went further, choosing an even more aggressive and blasphemous expression, claiming that Allah's hand is shackled. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. The children of Israel even distorted and sold the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah 2, verse 79, the cow. So woe to those who distort the scripture with their own hands, then say, "This is from Allah," in order to exchange it for a small price. Woe to them for what their hands have written, and woe to them for what they earn. In Sahih al-Bukhari, narrated from Ubaidullah bin Abdullah, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, "O the group of Muslims, how can you ask the people of the scriptures about anything while your book, which Allah has revealed to your Prophet, contains the most recent news from Allah and is pure and not distorted? Allah has told you that the people of the scriptures have changed some of Allah's books and distorted it, and wrote something with their own hands and said, 'This is from Allah,' so as to have a minor gain for it. Won't the knowledge that has come to you stop you from asking them? No, by Allah, we have never seen a man from them asking you about the book Al-Quran which has been revealed to you." Due to this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested them by allowing their enemies to attack them. And in one of those attacks, the ark in which were the Sakina and the rest of what the family of Prophet Musa and Prophet Harun salam had left behind was seized by force. Then the Israelites suffered prolonged distress. Foreign kings humiliated them, oppressed their land. Many lands were looted and confiscated. Some places were forced to pay jizya, yani head tax, killed their men, took their women and children captive. And if we look in history, some of the children of the kings of Israel before, almost 440 of them were captured by soldiers from the foreign nations. Imam Baghawi mentioned in his book Tafsir al-Baghawi, also known as Ma'alim al-Tanzil, that during this time a group called Belshazzar was born. Who was Belshazzar? They are the one that was known as Jalut, yani Goliath, that was mentioned in the Quran, who lived around the coastal area between Egypt and Palestine, and they were from the Amalekites. Imam at-Tabari said, Musa bin Harun al-Hamdani related to me from Amr ibn Hamad, Asbad, As-Sudi, in an account he reported from Abu Malik, Abu Saleh, Ibn Abbas, Murrah, Ibn Mas'ud, and men among the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, that the Israelites battled the Amalekites, whose king was Goliath. The Amalekites gained control over the Israelites, imposing a head tax upon them and taking their Torah. The Israelites asked God to send them a prophet with whom they could fight, but the tribe of the prophets had perished, and only one pregnant woman of them remained. The Israelites confined her to a house, fearing that she would bear a girl. Then they would be able to substitute for her a boy, seeing the Israelites' desire for her child. But the woman prayed earnestly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant her a son, and she gave birth to a boy whom she named Shamun, meaning God heard my prayers. Imam at-Tabari wrote in his book, The History of the Prophets and Kings, yani Tarikh al-Rusul wal-Muluk, more commonly known as Tarikh at-Tabari. When the boy grew older, his mother handed him over to learn the Torah in the temple. An elder sage assumed responsibility for him and adopted him. When the boy matured so that God could send him as a prophet, Malaika Jibril alayhi salam came to him while the boy was sleeping near the old man, who would entrust him to no one else. Then Malaika Jibril alayhi salam called out, in the old man's tone of voice, "O Samuel!" And the boy got up, frightened, and said to the old man, "O my father, did you call me?" The old man didn't want to say no and alarm the boy. So he said, "O my son, go back to sleep." The boy returned and fell asleep. Then Malaika Jibril alayhi salam called him a second time. The boy returned again, saying, "Did you call me?" He replied, "Go back to sleep, and if I call you a third time, do not answer me." On the third time, Malaika Jibril alayhi salam appeared to him and said, "Go to your people and bring them your Lord's message, for God has sent you among them as a prophet." But when he presented himself to the Israelites, they considered him a liar, saying, "You have been too hasty in regards to this prophecy. We will pay no attention to you." They said, "If you are a speaker of truth, then send us a king to fight for the sake of God as a sign of your prophecy." He then replied, "Would you then refrain from fighting if fighting were prescribed for you?" Imam Ibn Khatir said the reason why Prophet Samwil alayhi salam said this was because he knew the weakness and history of the children of Israel. They then said to Prophet Samwil alayhi salam, "Why should we not fight for God's sake when we have been driven from our dwellings with our children by tax payment?" So Prophet Samwil alayhi salam prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and was given a staff, the size of which was the height of the man who would be sent as the king. Prophet Samwil alayhi salam then said to his people, Your companion's height should reach that of this staff. They measured themselves by it, but they did not match it. In Surah Al-Baqarah 2, verse 246, يعني the cow. Have you not considered the assembly of the children of Israel after the time of Musa, when they said to a prophet of theirs, "Send to us a king, and we will fight in the way of Allah"? He said, "Would you perhaps refrain from fighting if battle was prescribed for you?" They said, "And why should we not fight in the cause of Allah when we have been driven out from our homes and from our children?" But when battle was prescribed for them, they turned away, except for a few of them, and Allah is knowing of the wrongdoers. In Tafsir ibn Khatir, Mujahid said that the Prophet mentioned in this ayah is Prophet Samwil alayhi salam, يعني Samuel. Wahab bin Munabbih said, the children of Israel remain on the straight path for a period of time after Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Then they innovated in the religion, and some of them even worshipped the idols. Yet there were always prophets sent among them who would command them to work righteous deeds, refrain from doing evil, and who would rule them according to the commands of the Torah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused their enemies to overwhelm them, and many fatalities fell among them as a consequence. Their enemies also captured a great number of them and took over large areas of their land. Earlier, anyone who would fight the Israelites would lose because they had the Torah and the Tabut, yani the Ark of the Covenant, which they inherited generation after generation ever since the time of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, who spoke to Allah directly. Yet the Israelites kept indulging in misguidance until some king took the Tabut from them during a battle. That king also took possessions of the Torah, and only a few of the Israelites who memorized it remained. The prophethood halted among their various tribes, and only a pregnant woman remained of the offspring of Levi or Levi, in whom the prophethood still appeared. Her husband had been killed, so the Israelites kept her in a house so that Allah may give her a boy who would be a prophet. The woman also kept invoking Allah to grant her a boy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heard her pleas and gave her a boy whom she called Samwil or Samwil, meaning Allah has heard my pleas. Some people said that the boy's name was Shamun, yani Simeon, which also has a similar meaning. As the boy grew, Allah raised him to be a righteous person. When he reached the age of prophethood, Allah revealed to him and commanded him to call his people to him and to his tawheed, yani oneness. Prophet Samwil alayhi salam called the children of Israel to Allah, and they asked him to appoint a king over them so that they could fight their enemies under his command, as the kingship had already ended among them. Interestingly, Imam at-Tabari said in his book that Al-Muthanna related to me from Ishaq bin al-Hajjaj, Ismail bin Abdul al-Karim, Abdul al-Samad bin al-Ma'gil, who heard Wahab bin Munabbih says, Eli, the priest, who reared Prophet Samwil alayhi salam, had 2 sons, young men, who did something with the sacrifice that was not appropriate. The instrument with which they stirred the sacrifice consisted of 2 iron prongs, and whatever they took out belonged to the priest who stirred it. But Eli's sons gave it more prongs. Furthermore, whenever women came to pray in the sanctuary, the 2 would take hold of them. While Prophet Samwil alayhi salam was sleeping in the front of the chamber where Eli slept, he heard a voice say, Samuel, and he ran to Eli saying, Here I am. Why did you call me? Eli replied, No, go back to sleep. Then he heard another voice say, Samuel, and he ran to Eli again saying, Here I am. Why did you call me? Eli replied, No, I didn't do it. Go back to sleep, and if you hear something, just say, 'Here I am,' in your place. Command me and I shall do it." He then returned and fell asleep. He had a voice again saying, "Samuel," and he replied, "Here I am, it is I, so command me, I shall do it." The voice said, "Go to Eli and say to him that his paternal love has prevented him from scolding his 2 sons for having defiled my temple and my sacrifice and having rebelled against me. Therefore I shall strip the priesthood from him and from his sons, and I shall cause him and them to perish." When he arose in the morning, Eli asked Prophet Samwil عليه about the night, and he told him what had happened, and Eli became afraid because of that. One of their enemies who surrounded them marched against them, and Eli ordered his 2 sons to lead the people out to fight this enemy. They went out, taking the ark in order to overcome the enemy by means of the ark. When they and the enemy lined up for battle, Eli awaited reports of what they had done. Then a man came and informed him while he was seated on his chair, "Verily your 2 sons have been slain, and our troops have been routed." Eli said, "What about the ark?" The man replied, "The enemy has taken it." Eli gave the death rattle, fell out of his chair on his neck, and died. Those who had captured the ark placed it in the house of their gods. They had an idol they worshipped, and they placed the ark under it with the idol on top. But on the morning of the next day, the idol was under and the ark was on top. So they took the idol, placed it on top again, and nailed its feet to the ark. But on the morning of the next day, the hand and 2 feet of the idol were cut off, and it was cast down under the ark. They said to one another, "Have you not learned that nothing can withstand the God of the Israelites? So remove the ark from the house of your gods." They removed the ark and placed it in an area of their town. But then the people of that area suffered from pains in their necks, and they said, "What is this?" A maid among them, one of the Israelite captives, said to them, "You will continue to witness what you do not like, as long as the ark is among you, so remove it from your town." They said, "You lie." She replied, "For a sign of that, you should bring 2 oxen, both of whom have young, and upon whom no yoke has ever been placed. Then put a cart behind them, place the ark on the cart, and make them journey while you detain their young. The oxen will set out with the ark submissively until they have left your land and have set foot in the nearest territory of the Israelites. Then they will break their yoke and return to their young." They did all that as she had suggested, and when the oxen left their land and set foot on the nearest territory of the Israelites, they broke their yoke and returned to their young, after having placed the ark in a ruined place where they were Israelites' reapers. The Israelites hurried towards the ark and approached it. Yet no sooner would one of them approach it, the person would die. The Israelites said to Prophet Samwil alayhi, "Appoint for us a king who will fight for God's cause." He replied, "God is sufficient to do battles for you." They replied, "But we are afraid of those around us. If we have a king, we will take refuge in him." So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired Prophet Samwil alayhi, "Appoint for them Saul, yani Talut, as king and anoint him with the holy oil." Imam Ibn Kathir mentioned his genealogy, as Talabi said that this king's name was Talut ibn Kesh, ibn Afil, ibn Saru, ibn Tahurat, ibn Afih, ibn Unais, ibn Benyamin, ibn Yaqub, ibn Ishaq, ibn Ibrahim. Ikrimah and Asudi said that he was a water carrier, while Wahab bin Munabbih said that he was a tanner. Others have said other things, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Some scholars said that Prophet Samwil alayhi salam then took out the inheritance of the descendants of Levi. One is the staff of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and the second is the horn. Inside the horn there is some oil, and the oil is also to be considered as holy among the Israelites. The holy oil will then be applied to the head, and there are some stories that say that it is applied to the body of anyone who is crowned or elected as a leader. So, Prophet Samwil alayhi salam has these two items in his possession. Prophet Samwil alayhi salam previously had told them that the first feature of the king is that his height must be the same as the height of the staff when measured. And the second feature is that if that person walked past the horn or the person approached the horn, the holy oil in the horn would bubble up by itself. So those were the signs of the characteristics that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will appoint that person as their leader. And this is when Talut or Saul will come into the picture. Wallahu alam bisawab. Ya Allah, please teach us knowledge that is beneficial to us. Let us take advantage of the knowledge that you pour onto us. Please give us knowledge, good deeds, and sincerity in our lives. May we receive mercy and guidance from you, Ya Allah. Please increase our iman and ilmu so that we can pass them down to our children, family, friends, and all our loved ones. Until my next video, inshallah, please take care and be kind to one another. Jazakumullah khairan and shukran.